Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name is Lauren. I'm going to be guiding you through a Vinyasa practice where we'll be focusing on back bending. So make sure that you're listening to how your spine is feeling throughout the back bending process. Also, when we're opening through back bends, we also are going to focus on the front of the shoulders, the chest, a little bit of the front of the hips. So really any and all spaces, just make sure that you're feeling comfortable, you're able to maintain a smooth, fluid breath, and that if something doesn't feel right, you don't have to do it. And that's not just because you're on your own at home. This goes for any time you're practicing yoga in a group with other people, even if there's 100 people. You follow the guidance of your own intuition, your own internal wisdom. So do or not do anything that I say. So think of what I'm saying as suggestions. Listen to your body. Okay, so we will start seated. So I've got blocks handy, so I'm gonna take a seat on a block, but if you don't have blocks, that's okay. I would still sit on something. So whether you take a pillow, a blanket, a towel, if you'd like to do this first part in a chair, that's fine too. But when you're sitting, you'll find that your knees tend to come up at about the height of your ribs. We want them lower past the hip. So even here, and I would consider my hips pretty open, they come up pretty high. So if we sit on something, that'll help the knees fall lower. And then I actually really feel more comfortable taking a different position. So I sit in Siddhasana, and this is a little bit more comfortable for me. So whatever makes the most sense for you, but really we want the knees lower than the hips so that the hips can relax. That's the whole point. Okay, let your legs relax. Let your arms rest wherever's comfortable. Palms down usually means we're connecting a little bit more to the earth energy and grounding. Palms up is a little bit more upward lifting and an energetic feel, but whatever feels good. So let your body relax. Lengthen up through the crown of the head. The longer that we're here, you'll be tempted to really round and slouch. Make sure you are lengthening, especially because we're going to be back bending, so we want to avoid slouching here. So sit up tall, roll your shoulders down and back, lengthen through the back of the neck, reach the crown of the head up and away towards the sky. Let your eyelids feel heavy so they softly close. And drop into your body. Take inventory of your body just as it is before we start to move, before we start to engage. Really notice. Noticing just the different ways that your body is positioned and noticing the parts of your body that are touching the ground, touching the floor, touching whatever it is you're sitting on. You might notice your hands against your legs or on your lap. Notice if you're in a room that maybe has a breeze or there's some stillness. Feel that against your skin. Feel the texture of your clothing against your skin. So really observing what it is that you're feeling. And then notice how you're breathing. For a few moments, notice your breath, your natural, easy, effortless breath, as it flows and travels and moves through your body. Notice if you're breathing through your nose or your mouth. Notice if your breath makes a sound or if it's silent. notice the effortlessness, the ease at which you're breathing. Now you are welcome to stay here. This is a form of pranayama, a breathing technique, just observing your natural breath. This is called anapana. You absolutely can stay here. Focus on your breath, any quality about your breath, or maybe start to manipulate your breath. I'll walk you through the ujjayi breath. Ujjayi, or the ujjayi breath, means the victorious breath. We often use the ujjayi breath throughout a vinyasa practice. So if this is comfortable for you as we're doing it here, you might incorporate it throughout the rest of the practice or through parts of the practice, especially the warrior poses, using the victorious breath. But the ujjayi breath consists of an exhalation that creates a sound. So your natural breath was probably silent and didn't make any sounds, but in the ujjayi breath, the exhalation creates a sound. It sounds almost like a hissing sound, or the sound of the ocean. And it's caused by a slight restriction in the back of the throat. So it doesn't come by pursing your lips. It's not like you're whistling. It comes from the back of the throat, a slight restriction in the back of the throat that creates this hissing sound. If you're new to the breath, do this with an open mouth exhalation. Like there's a mirror right in front of your face and you're trying to fog up the mirror. So to begin, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Again, like you're trying to fog up a mirror. It's the same restriction in the back of the throat that you use when you try to whisper. It's that same sound, that same feeling in the throat. So again, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. And continue at your own pace. And with the ujjayi breath, we also try to lengthen the exhalation. It's not a fast, it's a long, slow, steady exhalation where we create that sound. And if you're really comfortable here doing this with an open mouth exhalation, maybe begin the ujjayi breath with a closed mouth exhalation. The sound is still there, it's not quite as loud, but you still create that audible hissing sound. If there's anyone else in the room with you, they should be able to hear it. So inhale through the nose, out with the ujjayi breath. Inhale through the nose, exhale. Now continue with the ujjayi breath a few more moments, breathing out through either the mouth or the nose, but creating that audible sound and lengthening the exhalation. Do this for 3 more breaths. And after that third ujjayi breath, return back to your natural breath, whether that's breathing in and out through the nose or the mouth, whether that's making a sound or being silent. Come back to an organic, fluid breath. Notice how you feel. Keeping a quiet and mindful quality about your being, slowly draw your hands together in front of your heart in Undulate Mudra, palms together and thumbs softly resting on the collarbones. If it feels right for you in this moment, you're welcome to silently set an intention for your practice, asking yourself, what brought you to your mat? Maybe the answer is a physical quality. Maybe it's a mental, emotional, energetic, spiritual quality. There's no right or wrong way to set an intention. Just make sure it's a positive word or phrase. Give yourself a few moments to silently and slowly repeat it, to allow it to settle in your heart. Now slowly draw your chin in towards your chest, bowing reverently at your intention that you've set for yourself. Slowly allow your eyelids to flutter open so you're looking down at your fingertips, and then you can release your arms and slowly lift your head. Okay, we're gonna stay seated for a little bit longer. So change the cross of your legs, put the other leg in front or on top. Notice how different it feels. That just means that you probably tend to favor that one side. If this is really uncomfortable, you don't have to stay this way. But it's just something to think about on and more importantly off your mat, how often you favor one side. Okay, so we're going to be focusing on backbends through the practice, and that will include your neck. So let's warm up your neck a little bit. So continue to lengthen. We want to make sure that we're not slouching as we're here. Lengthen through your chest. We're going to keep most of your torso still. Relax the shoulders and arms. And I like to do this with my eyes closed, but you're welcome to have your eyes open. But imagine that the crown of your head is tracing a very small circle overhead on the ceiling. And with each rotation, make the circle a little larger. So really, the crown of your head is tracing a spiral on the ceiling. And with each rotation, each time you pass around, the circle gets a little bit larger. You're moving in a slow and controlled way. You're not rushing, not hurrying. And then as these circles start to get really large, it should be comfortable. And notice if you're hearing any sound effects. If that's the case, you're hearing clicking, popping, snapping, anything like that, make the circle a little bit smaller. Sound effects like that are sort of a highly debated topic in the yoga world. And I just think let's err on the side of caution. Better safe than sorry, right? Especially with your neck. So try to avoid those sounds by making the circle a little smaller, if necessary. And then once you come back to the center with your chin towards your chest, your head hanging forward, stay for a moment. And then reverse the direction of the circle. Again, no sound effects, no clicking, snapping, cracking, clicking, popping. And then start to decrease the size of the circle. Again, coming into the center like you're tracing a spiral, but now going in, reversing back the way we came in it. Make each rotation a little bit smaller every time you go around. And then return all the way back to the center, back to stillness. Take a deep breath in and out. Okay, your eyes are closed. You can slowly allow them to open. All right, let's move the shoulders a little bit. So start to make really large circles here in the shoulders. Now you can do one at a time or both together, but do about 2 or 3 more. Again, with back bends, we've got to open the front of the shoulders. So let's get it moving and then reverse the direction of those circles, making them very large, but just because a movement is large does not mean it needs to be fast. We will be moving at the pace of the breath, but you should never feel like you're in a hurry or like you're rushing or you're running late in the yoga class. Maybe to get to the class, but once you're there, you shouldn't feel like you're rushing to get to the next pose. So know that you can take your time. Okay, last seated thing that we'll do, bring your fingertips behind you. Now I'm sitting on a block, so it's hard for me to touch the floor, but if you can touch the floor, you can do that. Push your fingertips into the floor to lift up. Or you can just reach your fingertips back, palms face each other, and just really reach the fingertips back. Now maybe you interlace your fingers behind you, and you reach your knuckles back. But I want you to feel an opening through your chest and shoulders. So broaden through the collarbones, lift the chest, draw the shoulders down and back. You might even look up, not necessarily at the ceiling, but maybe where the wall meets the ceiling in front of you. And if it's comfortable in your shoulders, and if you can maintain stillness in your spine, maybe you start to lift your hands away from you, like you're reaching your knuckles towards the wall behind you as opposed to the floor. Stay wherever you're at in some version of yoga mudra for one more breath. And then slowly release the arms, release the shoulders. Okay, we're gonna come into tabletop. So I've got blocks with me. I like to bring them to the top 2 corners of my mat, but if you don't have them, that's okay. We're not going to need them, but they're handy to have. We're gonna be kneeling for a little bit. If you wanna put some padding under your knees, you're welcome to do that. But from tabletop, we're gonna focus on moving your spine. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Doesn't matter to me if you have the tops of your feet down or if you hook your toes under. Whatever you like better in your ankles and your feet. But as you inhale, drop your belly down, lift your chest, lift your heart, look forward. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, ribs to the sky, chin to the chest, look at your belly button. Inhale, drop the belly down, lift the chest, lift the heart, look forward. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, ribs to the sky, chin to the chest, look at the belly button. Do a few more like this at the pace of your breath, and as you're here, try to initiate the movement at your tailbone, at your pelvis, at your lower back, and allow the movement to travel up your spine like a wave. Instead of moving everything together, make it a very fluid movement, a wave-like action. Do one more of each. And then slowly return back to the center. All right. So now we want to open the sides of the torso. So lengthen your right leg back. We'll pause here for just a moment. Really reach the right heel back, the crown of the head forward, and push your hands into the floor. Now, oftentimes when we're in tabletop or plank, we let the heart sag down and the space between the shoulder blades turns into a valley. That shows me your chest and your serratus muscles are not working. So push your hands down to lift your chest up. The space between your shoulder blades should be flush with the shoulder blades. Okay, now keeping the length in the right leg, pick the right foot up and bring it over to the left a few feet. So it's going to come off your mat. That's okay. Hook the toes under, push the heel back, and then look over your left shoulder. Look, you're looking at your right big toe. So feel a length through the right side of the body. So from up overhead, your spine, or from the crown of your head back to your right heel really, looks like the letter C. We want to really grow long, excuse me, through the right side. Stay for a breath. Inhale, exhale, return that right knee back down. Do the same thing on the second side. Lengthen the left leg back, push the heel back, toes hooked under, reach the crown of the head forward, lengthen the spine, lengthen the leg, and then push the hands down, lift the chest. Keep the back of the neck long, so whenever you're in tabletop or plank, you're looking down at your mat between your thumbs, not down at your belly or your feet. So, neck is long. Now, keep the left leg long, lift it up, bring it over to the right, a few feet, and then look over your right shoulder, look back at that big toe, feel the length in the left side of the torso. So really keep drawing the left heel back and the crown of the head up and over. Again, from some up overhead, you look like sort of like the letter C. We want to grow long on the left side. Take a breath. Inhale, exhale, return to tabletop. Okay, now we're really going to get moving, so if you did pad under your knees, I would push it off to the side. It's going to get in the way. All right, so from tabletop, really push the hands down. Create that space between the shoulder blades that is flush with the shoulder blades. Look to the space between your thumbs. Lengthen your legs back into a plank position. Now, another thing that happens in plank is we either let the hip sag or the ribs sag. So tuck the tailbone. Make sure you're a strong, long line. Inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now we'll stay for a few breaths. Take any movement or variation you need here because it's probably your first down dog of the day. So maybe pedal the heels, lift and lower them together, shake your head yes and no, whatever you need. One more breath. All right, and then from stillness, deeply bend the knees, inhale, look forward, exhale, walk or step forward. This first one we don't want to jump. We're going to work our way up to that if that's in your practice. To forward fold Uttanasana. Feet are hip distance apart. Feet look like the number 11. Maybe the knees are bent, maybe not, but let your upper body relax. Take a breath. Now firmly push the heels into the floor. Inhale, lift up halfway. We're going to hold it here for a moment. So reach the crown of your head forward, your tailbone back, so the body is a long line. Think about how you felt when you were sitting up tall. Do that here, but now you're facing the floor. Draw your shoulders down and back. Create length in the spine. Push the heels into the floor. Inhale, rise all the way up. Maybe add a bit of a back bend at the top. And then slowly bring your hands to your heart. Take a deep breath into Tadasana. Okay, now we are really going to get moving. So we'll do 2 sun salutation C's and then 3 A's. So I'll be cueing it all the way through and doing it with you. So inhale, rise up through the fingertips. Exhale, hinge forward at the hips. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step the right foot back. Maybe hands on blocks, maybe hands right on the ground. But draw the right heel back, the left shin forward, but squeeze the inner thighs in. So you're not letting your hips just sag. Engage the muscles. This is where we're going to start working. Inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. Spread the fingers as wide as they'll go. Push your hands down. Inhale, shift forward, plank pose. Now, you can always drop to your knees here, but we want to make sure that the belly isn't sagging or that the tailbone needs to be tucked. So tuck the tailbone, lengthen, keep up the work. Inhale, shift forward, exhale, slowly lower all the way down onto your belly. Bring the tops of your feet down, bring your arms alongside your body, palms face in. Push your hips down, lift your chest up. So lengthen through the crown of your head so there's no wrinkles in the back of your neck. Look down at your mat. Now, lift your chest away from the floor. Reach your fingertips back. Draw your hands a little closer together. Work the backside. Come into a back bend. Inhale, lower the hands under the shoulders. Exhale, downward facing dog. All right, slow transition here. Pick up the right foot, reach the right heel back. Inhale. Exhale, draw the right knee forward towards the belly. Quietly place the foot in between the hands. Use the muscles of your upper body and your abs to do that transition. You want to make sure we're not hearing the foot slap the ground. Okay, so right knee forward. Left heel back, inner thighs in. Engage. Inhale. Exhale, step forward. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Push the heels down. Inhale, rise. We're going to do that again. Surya Namaskar C. Exhale, hinge at the hips, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, step the left foot back, runner's lunge. Engage the legs. Inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Spread your fingers wide. Inhale, shift forward, plank pose. Now make sure you're tucking the tailbone. Create a wrinkle in the front of your shirt by your belly button. Make sure the belly doesn't sag. Protect your lower back. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower. Keep the elbows in tight. Arms alongside the body and lift the chest, shoulders, arms, and hands. Maybe even interlace the fingers behind you, coming to Yoga Mudra in Shalavasana, locust pose. So lift up, reach back, take a breath. Inhale, lower the hands. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Pick up the left foot. Inhale, reach it back. Exhale, draw the knee forward towards the belly. Quietly place the foot in between the hands, runner's lunge. Draw the legs out, forward and back, but squeeze in towards the midline. Inhale, exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Push the heels down, inhale, rise. Now we're going to go to sun salutation A. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step back, plank pose, taking your time. Notice which foot you use to get there. Do the opposite next time. Okay, so plank, crown of the head forward, heels back. You're long, you're engaged, you're pushing your hands down. The space between your shoulder blades is flush with your shoulder blades, not a valley. Now inhale, shift forward, exhale, slowly lower. Inhale to your back bend. It might be cobra, might be up dog, might be locust, but inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. We're going to stay for a few breaths. So notice how your body is feeling now after that movement. Maybe your heart rate is a little elevated. Maybe your breath is a little labored. Know that you can always come back to the Ujjayi breath. Take one more breath here. Now deeply bend the knees. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, travels forward. Walk, step, or jump to forward fold Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise, circle the arms, fingertips to the sky. We're going to do that again. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step back, plank pose. Step with the opposite foot this time. Now in a plank. Your hands are pushing, your fingers are spreading. Push even the fingertips into the floor. Push the base of the pointer finger down, keep it up. Inhale, forward, exhale, lower. Inhale to your back bend, draw the heart forward, shoulders down and back. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And a few breaths here. Notice how you feel. Noticing your breath. Keeping it smooth and fluid. Maybe silent, maybe a sound. One more breath. Now deeply bend the knees. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, travel forward. Walk, step, or jump. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Fingertips to the sky. Maybe at the back bend. One last sun salutation. Exhale, hinge at the hips, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, plank pose. Lengthen the body. Strengthen the arms. Spread the fingers. Keep it up. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale, rise your back bend. Draw your heart forward, shoulders down and back. Inhale, exhale, downward facing dog. Take a few breaths. Check in. One more breath. Deeply bend the knees. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, travel forward. Forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Fingertips to the sky. We're going to come into standing flows. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step back to plank. We're going to take a vinyasa to get there. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale to your back bend. Exhale, down dog. From down dog, bring the feet together, big toes to touch. Pick up the left foot, reach the left heel back towards the wall behind you. Inhale. Exhale, shift forward, draw your left knee towards your left elbow. You're in a one-leg plank. We're gonna do two more. Inhale, lengthen it back. Exhale, draw your knee across your body to your right elbow. Use your obliques. One more. Inhale, lengthen back. Exhale, reach the knee forward towards the chin. Hover, use your muscles, and then quietly place the foot in between your hands. Now, pivot the back foot. We're coming to a warrior one stance. So the foot might come forward a little bit. That's okay. And your right toes will point forward towards the right corner of your mat. Deeply bend the left knee and inhale, rise, warrior one. Virabhadrasana one. So, left toes point forward as you draw the left knee forward. Left quads should be working hard. Maybe not yet, but they should feel it later. Right heel is firmly planted, right toes pointing to the top right corner of your mat. That hopefully helps you draw the right hip forward towards the top of your mat. You lengthen the spine, reach the fingertips up. Take a deep breath, warrior one, Virabhadrasana one. Now keep the legs as they are, but release your arms. Now option one is to interlace the fingers, just like we did before in a few poses, taking yoga mudra. Maybe you interlace the finger, maybe you grab onto opposite elbows. Maybe you take reverse namaskar, palms together, but flip the fingertips so they point up towards the ceiling, up towards your skull. Wherever you want to be, I want openness through your chest. That's why we're doing this pose. So keep deeply bending the front knee. grounding through the right pinky toe and the whole outside edge of that foot. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, lead with your chest as you fold, humble warrior. Now, if you're interlacing your fingers, reach them to the sky. Now, your torso might rest on your left thigh. It might hang between. Whatever feels best for you. You might look at your left big toe. You might drop your head, look back at your right big toe. But again, if knuckles are interlaced, reach them to the sky. Humble warrior, left shin forward, right pinky toe and heel back. Take a breath. Now, keep your torso low, but release your hands. Bring your left hand to your left hip, your right hand down into the inside of your left foot, down on something. So I like a block here, but you do what you need to do. Now, we're gonna let the right heel lift and pivot. So now all 10 toes are pointing forward. And for this pose, I like to kind of walk the foot back again. It's a clunky transition, but it gets us where we need to be. All right, so left knee will stay bent. Quads should be feeling that work now. Inhale, lengthen the crown of your head forward. Exhale, take a twist. Reach the left fingertips to the sky, maybe even looking up towards that left thumb. For less in your neck, you can look down towards your right thumb, or in neutral, nose in the same direction as the heart. But left shin forward, right heel back. Point your heart up towards the ceiling. Take a breath. Inhale. Exhale, untwist. Bring the left hand back to the left hip. We're going to twist one more time. We're coming to a balance pose though, and if you've got a block, I would use it here for sure for this pose, but if you don't have it, that's okay. With the block, reach your hand forward, or just reach your hand forward as far as it will go. Shift your weight forward into the right hand and the left foot. So, right leg will lift and float up off the ground. The hope is that from the crown of your head to from the crown of your head to your right heel, you're a straight line. Okay, so right toes point down towards the floor. Now you can stay here, or inhale, lengthen, exhale, rotate. Reach the left fingertips up towards the ceiling, just like before. And you can look, again, wherever is comfortable. I'm gonna keep my spine in neutral, but if you want that twist, you take it. So, keep grounding through your left heel. You should be able to wiggle your left toes. Reach your right heel back. Stay for one more breath, Parivrita Ardha Chandrasana. And we'll meet in a runner's lunge. So if you're taking the twist, untwist. Deeply bend the left knee, bring both hands down onto the mat. Both feet down, inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now you've got a few breaths before we switch sides. So if you want to take a child's pose, a vinyasa, some cat and cows, whatever you need, take a few breaths to do that. Now we'll all meet in downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Now from down dog, bring the feet together, big toes touch. We're going to work the abs. Make sure the movement is slow. If it's fast, it's pulling in the low back. We want abs doing the work. Pick up the right foot, reach the right heel back. Inhale. Exhale, shift forward, one leg plank, right knee to right elbow. Use your muscles. Inhale, lengthen back. Exhale, reach across for the left elbow. Use your obliques. You've got it. One more. Inhale, lengthen back. Exhale, reach the knee forward through to the center towards your chin. Hover, use your muscles, and then place the foot down. Okay, I like to walk the foot in one little hop and then pivot the foot, ground the heel, outside edge of the foot, pushing down. Inhale, rise, warrior one. Fingertips to the sky, torso forward. Okay, so right toes point forward, right knee comes forward, quads are working. You might not feel it yet, you will. Push the left pinky toe and that whole outside edge of the foot down into the floor, but don't lean the whole thing back. Come forward and draw the left hip forward. We're trying to square the hips forward. Fingertips reach to the sky. Take a breath. Okay. Keep the legs as they are. Release your arms. Now again, you can interlace the fingers. You can grab the elbows. You can take reverse namaskar. If you interlace the fingers, interlace them the other way. But wherever you need to be, open your chest. Reach the knuckles down and back like you're reaching for the back of your mat. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, lead with your chest as you fold. You might let your torso rest on the thigh. You might let it hang between. But reach the knuckles up towards the ceiling if that's the variation you're taking. Do what feels best in your neck. You might drop your head, look through your legs to the back foot. You might stay tall and long. Look at the right big toe. But humble warrior, stay strong, pushing through the heels. Take a breath. Okay. Now release your hands. Right hand to the right hip, left hand under the left shoulder to the inside of the right foot by the big toe side. Let the left heel lift and pivot, toes forward. I like to walk that foot back a little bit. My feet are sweaty, so it's a little easy, but it may be lengthening your stance. It'll help deepen the twist. Okay. Now, left hand might be down on the ground or a block, whatever you need, but inhale, lengthen, exhale, rotate, right fingertips to the sky. Now notice as you twist to the right, your right knee will want to go over to the right, so push the base of the right big toe down. Make sure that the knee doesn't splay out. Okay, right knee forward, base of the big toe down, left heel back, inner thigh squeeze in like the runner's lunge. Left hand pushes down, right fingertips reach up, rotate, turn your heart to the ceiling. Twisted lunge, one more breath. Inhale, exhale, untwist. Right hand back to the right hip. Now whether you've got a block or not, you're gonna reach your left hand forward. I'm gonna scoot back a little bit. Okay, so you're gonna reach the left hand forward. Shift your weight forward into the left hand, right foot. Allow the left leg to lift. We want to keep the hips level, so make sure that the left hip doesn't hike up or sag. Left heel reaches back like you're planting a footprint on the wall behind you. Crown of the head forward. You could stay here. Or inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. Right fingertips to the sky, maybe even look up, but find whatever is most comfortable in your neck. Crown of the head forward. Left heel back. Push down through the right heel. You can wiggle your right toes. Push down through the left hand. Lift up and out of your left armpit. One more breath. Parivrita, Ardha revolved, balancing half moon pose. We'll meet in a runner's lunge. Deeply bend the right knee. Bring both hands down, both feet down. Inhale, exhale, down dog. Be wherever you need to be. Take some movement, take some rest, whatever you need for a few more moments. Take one more deep breath wherever you're at. Okay, we'll all meet in tabletop. From tabletop, we're going to take a seat, so you can just swing your legs around so they come in front of you. Whew. Okay, so from a seat, you'll bend your knees, feet flat on the ground, feet and knees about hip distance apart. Now, here's where we're going to start to really take some deeper prep positions for the back bends. What we're about to do is strengthen the back and open the chest and shoulders. But it's really asking a lot of your shoulders. So if you have an issue with your wrist or your shoulder, I would suggest that you come to bridge pose. Knees bent, feet flat, same setup in the legs, but you're just going to lift your hips, you're going to squeeze your glutes, you're going to strengthen the lower back, the glutes, and the hamstrings, which is perfectly fine and a wonderful pose to do. So you might do that. That might suit your body better. We are going to do this pose 2 times, so if that second time you want to switch, you're welcome to do that. All right. So knees bent, feet flat, toes forward. Bring your hands behind you. Think about how you are in plank or chaturanga. We're basically doing that with our hands behind us. So it might be uncomfortable on the wrist to have the fingers pointing forward towards your body, but it is safer in your shoulders because this is the shoulder alignment we like. All right. So hands behind you. Spread the fingers wide. Look at your belly button. Push your feet and your hands down. Inhale. Exhale, lift your hips up off the ground. Now the height at which you lift your hips is more about flexibility, but just lift them up as high as you can. Now push your feet into the ground to lift your hips, squeeze your glutes. Push your hands into the ground, lift your chest, squeeze your shoulder blades in toward each other. Now you can look at your belly button or the ceiling, but we should not feel this in the neck. I want the fronts of your shoulders to open, the backs of the shoulders and the whole back side of the body to work, but nothing in the neck. Stay for a deep breath. Inhale, exhale slowly, lower. Good. You can turn your hands out any way you'd like now and just let your knees sway from side to side. Since our body weight is not pushed into the arms, any other position's fine here. Okay, so we are going to do that one more time. So you can do bridge pose, or you can join me in this reverse modified plank. Think about plank, we did a lot of them. In plank, you're working the whole front side of the body. We can't just work the front side, we've got to work the back, especially for back bends. So we're strengthening the back side. So everything that you feel when you're in plank, all of these muscles working, and it's really hard, and it's you want to get out of it, but you can stay with it, and you're able to breathe, and it's not painful. That's what we want here. So really kind of walking that line of where things are not painful and not sharp, not shooting, but it is tough. That's where we want to be. All right, so knees bent, feet flat, hands behind you, middle fingers pointing forward towards the rest of your body. Push your hands down, look at your belly button, inhale, exhale as you rise. Lift your hips up, lift them up as high as they'll go. Pinch your glutes, squeeze your backside. Now push your hands down, lift your chest like a string is pulling your heart to the sky. Now you can stay here, or for more, lengthen your legs like you're in a true reverse plank. Try to get the bottoms of the feet on the floor, point the toes forward, push the hands down, look at your belly button or the ceiling, but take a breath, work the back side. Inhale, exhale, lower. Bring the arms any way, let the knees sway. Okay. All right, so our next pose, we're gonna still prep for these back bends, but it's gonna take a lot less work, so you can catch your breath. Let your legs go to each side one more time. All right, we're gonna come back into tabletop, and we're gonna be kneeling one knee at a time for a while, so you might want to bring some padding under your knees, your call. And I'm gonna grab my blocks. Bring the hands on the blocks. I like the medium height, but you do whatever you need. All right, we're gonna step the left foot forward in between the hands. So the intention here, what we're gonna come into in a moment, is stretching the hip flexor, and I'll explain why in a moment. But when you step your foot forward, the hope is that your ankle and your knee are stacked, that your shin is a vertical line. Now, we're gonna shift the body forward. So if we start here and shift forward, now they're not a vertical line anymore. So crawl the foot forward a few inches. And so now it's not a vertical line, but it will be in a moment. So push the top of your right foot down, the shin, the knee, the left heel, the hands to lift up, and then come forward. So we want to open the front of your right hip where your thigh meets your torso, your hip flexor. It's a small group of muscles. You won't feel a large space stretching, but it will be fairly intense, most likely. Okay. So I want you to think about pushing down to lift up and draw forward. Think about your hips tracking up and away, like your hips are reaching for where the wall meets the ceiling in the wall in front of you. So oftentimes people sort of drop down. This is pulling in the joints, overstretching. So not what we're looking for. We want some stability. We want a little bit of work here. Not a lot, not as much as the last pose, but a little bit. Okay, so we're stretching the hip flexor. Stay for 2 more deep breaths here. And now allow your hips to come back. And we're going to switch out the legs. Drop the left knee down. Step the right foot forward. Now wherever you stepped it forward, walk it forward another inch or 2, maybe even more. To whatever degree you're going to come forward, we want that foot already forward. Now push down, because lifting up is important here, and then coming forward. We don't want to let gravity do the work. You should not be sinking towards the floor. We want up and away. Okay, now the reason we're stretching our hip flexors is because back bends really start in your legs, in your quads. Depending on the back bend you're taking, your quads, your hip flexors start the back bend. If this space is tight, you can't bend back. So for example, stay where you're at, but if this space is tight, it's shortening, pulling the torso forward, and then the back bend really kind of has nowhere to go. So we need all of this to be open to come into, especially the next pose we're going to come into, which I was just previewing. But let's stay here, stretch this hip flexor, 2 more deep breaths. Okay, now allow the hips to come back. Drop that knee down. All right, so again, we're going to be kneeling again. We're going to come into camel, that pose that I sort of was just mimicking. So I like to practice this pose up against a wall. It's a little tough to sort of move everything over to a wall. So what I like to do instead is to bring the blocks at the highest height, right in front of the thighs, so that they make this imaginary wall. So I want you to imagine that this goes all the way up to the ceiling. And when you're in camel, when you're coming into this pose, you're going to peel away from this imaginary wall one space at a time. We want the thighs to remain in contact with the blocks, because as we're in this pose, watch my spine for just a moment. Keeping in mind that this pose is meant to be a back bend, watch my spine. This is what people tend to do in this pose. They lean back. The spine stays in neutral. It's not a back bend. They hinge at the knees. Notice that my hips, my thigh is like a diagonal line. We want the thighs now a vertical line, just like the shins were a moment ago. So if you use the blocks as this imaginary wall, knowing that your thighs need to stay in contact, hips will stay over knees, femur will stay a vertical line, and the back bend, it does start here, but it's loose here and it allows the back bend. Okay. So we're going to do that. You're welcome to move to a wall if you'd actually like to do that. And we want to support the lower back in this pose. So you're going to take this webbing between your pointer finger and your thumb, place it at your waist, at your narrowest point. And when you let your fingers go, your middle finger will more or less be in line with your belly button, more or less. Okay. You're going to keep your thumbs where they're at, swing your hands back, fingertips point down. That is your lower back. So down here is your sacrum. This is your lower back. So we want to support the lower back. We're not pushing. Think about a gymnast. When someone spots a gymnast, they're just sort of there to rest, not pushing, forcing, creating any more tension. That's not what we're looking for. Okay, last safety cue, and then I will let you come into this pose. Let the shoulders come down, elbows back. Think chaturanga. Just like chaturanga, we want elbows narrow. We want elbows narrow here. We need these back muscles squeezed and engaged, not stretching. So elbows squeezing back, hands resting, not pushing. Push down into the floor, toes, tops of the feet, shins, knees. Inhale, stand up tall. Exhale, peel away from this imaginary wall, one vertebrae at a time. Let the shoulders come away from the ears, elbows in tight, narrow like a chaturanga. Support your lower back, do not create more tension. We're going to stay in Ustrasana for 3 more deep breaths. Make sure that the thighs are making contact with your blocks or your imaginary blocks if you don't have blocks with you. Take 1 more deep breath here, Ustrasana, camel. And then slowly come upright and take a seat on your heels or sit in some way, but keep your spine in neutral. We have now started the portion of class where we're taking these deeper back bends. So it would be counterproductive and arguably too much friction on your spine to do the opposite. So no more child's pose. Don't fold forward. And when we come onto our back, don't hug your knees into your chest. We want a neutral spine, a back bend, a neutral spine, a back bend, back and forth. Otherwise, adding the opposite is, again, too much of the counter pose, too much of its opposite. Okay, we're going to do that again. So if you don't have blocks, you could put something in front of you. You can come up against a dresser, the edge of your bed, couch, whatever, or not. But again, it's important that your hips come forward. So if you aren't using blocks, keep thinking hips forward. I would put money on it that your hips can still come a little bit farther forward. Now, if you feel really good in this pose and you're looking for more, which we still have several more back bends to go, this is not your last opportunity for a back bend, you might bring your blocks alongside your ankles or your heels, and you might reach back for the blocks or your heels. But when you're doing this, when you're coming in and out, be as symmetrical as possible. I often see people sort of reach and then reach. That's asking your body to back bend and twist in a pretty unstable pose, so it's not so ideal. I would not ask anyone to do that. I would not do that in my own body. So I would lower, arm, arm, and then to release, arm, arm, lift, instead of twisting and twisting. Okay, so webbing at your waist, middle finger in line with the belly button. Thumb keeps where it is, hook the hands back, shoulders down, elbows back, hips forward. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, slowly lower. Support your lower back and maybe grab onto the blocks. Try to come into this pose as symmetrically as possible. We're gonna come out of it the same way. Now, resist the temptation to lean your torso back. Push your hips forward. Feel a stretch in your belly, maybe in your hip flexors, maybe in your quads. Maybe you drop your head and look back at the wall behind you, upside down. Preview, that's coming in a moment later too. But Ustrasana, camel. One more deep breath. And then as symmetrically as possible, bring one hand and then the other, support the lower back, lift up, slowly sit down and back, bring your spine to neutral and pause. So again, these neutral poses where the spine can remain back to, again, it's more natural curves. A neutral spine does not mean a straight, perfectly flat line. We often say that, but that's not really, your spine has curves. If you were to look at me from the side, you won't be able to see it, but if you had x-ray vision, my spine would be making sort of like a letter S. Scoliosis is if my spine made a letter S from this plane, but from this plane, everyone's got sort of this S-shaped curve. That's a natural spine. That's a natural curve. We want to come back to that. Take a deep breath. Okay. So the next pose is fish pose, and not supported fish. We're not using the blocks. Often people are familiar with supported fish and not the active version of the pose. I'm not going to demonstrate it. I'm just going to do it with you. If you've never seen the pose, maybe fast forward, see what it looks like. Oh yeah, I know that, and then come back. But if you know what it is, if you know where we're going, we're coming to fish. So you'll come down onto your back. Lift your hips like you're going to come into bridge. Reach your arms underneath you, palms down. Really reach your fingertips back towards your feet, and then sit down. So I'm not really sitting on my hands. I'm sitting like where a watch would go. That's why I don't usually wear my watch with this sequence. So, but you might be sitting on your hands, but I want the arms straight and arms hugging the body. The farther out the arms are, the more space there is here, the harder this pose is. And it's a hard pose to begin with. So keep it in close, palms down. So your seat is anchoring. So now your arms really can't move, which is what we want. Lengthen your legs forward, push your heels forward. Legs should be active, heels forward, heels into the floor. Okay, now push your forearms down and lift your ribs. Now you might just stay here, lifting your ribs. It's sort of like a cow pose. Letting your hips be heavy on the floor. Your hips are your anchor here. And you lift your ribs. And you lift your belly. This is a back bend. The back of your head is resting heavy on the ground. The only part of your head that will ever touch the ground in this pose is the part that was touching the ground when we started. So like for most of us, where a ponytail would go. Okay. But if you're looking for more, push your ribs down. Push your forearms down. Lift your ribs, lift all the way up. You're going to drop your head and look back at the wall behind you upside down. Push your seat down into your hands, hands into the floor, forearms into the floor, elbows down. Squeeze your upper back, open the chest and shoulders, and your head does not touch the floor. Keep reaching heels forward into the floor, hands into the floor, forearms down, lift the chest, lift the ribs, take a breath. Fish pose, Matsyendrasana. And then slowly draw the chin to the chest, let the back of your head touch the ground. And then you can shimmy your arms out from underneath you. Rest. Knees bent, feet flat. Give yourself a few moments. Coming back to a neutral spine. Again, do not hug your knees into your chest. Let your spine just rest, because we're still not done back bending. If we were done back bending, that would be okay, but we're not. And if you're done, if you feel like, you know what, that was enough, I did too much, absolutely. Hug your knees into your chest, take a Shavasana, absolutely. Take one more breath here. Okay. I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to flip around because I'm a little worried that I'm disappearing behind the couch. So I'll do it from over here. Okay. So, hips up, arms underneath, reach your fingertips forward. We want the arm in close and straight. So really reach and then sit down. Lengthen your legs, push through the heels, toes to the sky. Think Tadasana legs. Legs are active, they're not relaxing. This is an active pose, everywhere should be active. So, except the muscles of your face. You don't need to be making a face in this pose. Even if I am, you don't need to be doing that. So reach your heels forward, toes to the sky, legs are active. Contract the quads, lift the kneecaps. Okay, now lift your ribs, and you might just pause there. Lift your ribs, lift your belly. I should be able to sort of walk my hand through your mid-back and the floor. Probably even make a fist there. Or really push down, pick up your head, drop your head, you're looking at the wall behind you, you're looking upside down. Your head does not touch the floor. We need to protect your neck, okay? So you're dropping your head, neck is relaxed, facial muscles relaxed. But you're lifting your chest, broadening your collarbone, squeeze your upper back. Upper back should be working hard. Forearms and elbows and hands push down. Seat pushes down. Heels reach forward. Take a breath. And then slowly draw the chin to the chest. Let the back of the head rest on the ground. Release your hands from underneath you and rest. Take a few breaths, letting your spine come back to its natural position. So again, that's not necessarily a straight line. You might notice here that your lower back is a little bit lifted off the ground. That's okay, that's its natural curve. We're not looking to flatten it all. Just come back to neutral, back to a more natural position. Take a breath here. All right. We are going to come into one more back bend. I will give you 3 options. 1, 2, 3. Yes, 3 options of what you'd like to do. We'll be here for a while. So you could do one, do another, whatever you need. Option 1 is supported bridge. That is what I will be taking. So supported bridge, you do need something. Whether it's a block, a stack of books, a pillow, I don't know, something. It doesn't need to be this shape or this size, but in supported bridge, you'll push your feet down, lift your hips, slide the block or whatever under your sacrum. You now know where your lower back is, right? So this space, it's lower than that. It's your sacrum. It is south of that. It's below that. And you might just rest here and you might just totally relax. This is a really easy, comfortable, effortless, relaxing pose. It's meant to be. So if that's the kind of vibe you're looking for, this is your pose. If you're looking for a little bit more work or you don't have anything beside you, you can take an active bridge. So push the feet down, lift the hips, and squeeze. Activate here. Maybe you put a pillow between your inner thighs and you squeeze into your inner thighs and you really work and contract and engage and work really hard. Now you can stay there. If wheel is in your practice, I actually feel like my back had enough. So I'm not going to demonstrate wheel. I'll demonstrate sort of the first half. So if wheel is in your practice, knees bent, feet flat. If you have something, I would put something between your thighs because oftentimes in wheel, the knees go wide, which is not what we're looking for. So this kind of is a placeholder so you know your thighs are in the same spot. Hands come beside your ears with your fingers pointing towards your hips, towards the rest of your body. I'm not going to do this next part, but then you lift your hips like you're in bridge and then push your hands down, lift to the top of your head, just rest just the top of your head for a little bit and then push all the way up. We're going to stay here, wherever you want to be, moving, or I'm sorry, you could do moving bridges, lift and lower with your breath. Supported bridge, which is where I'll be, wheel or Vinyasa, depending on what level of work you want to take. And you can try one, try another, whatever you like. But I want you to be somewhere that is comfortable, somewhere that you're able to maintain a breath. So wheel, for example, out of all those options I just gave you, that one takes the most amount of work. You do gotta work. You gotta push your heels down, lift your hips, squeeze your glutes, keep the thighs parallel to each other, knees hip distance, push the hands down, really open the front side and contract the back. But you can breathe. You can relax the muscles of your face. Lots of spaces are working, but that space can relax. That's a good way to know that you've done too much if you start to sort of make some faces. You're doing a little too much if that's the case. And you've really got to listen to your body. I wish I could demonstrate wheel for you, but I want to teach 2 more classes tomorrow, so it's just not feasible for me. And I got to listen to my body, just like I encourage you to listen to yours. So wherever you're at, whatever you've chosen, some version of bridge, wheel, let's stay for about 5 more breaths. Listening to your body. One more breath. And then we'll all meet in constructive resting pose. So if you're in supported bridge like me, push your feet down, lift your hips, slide the block off to the side, and very slowly lower. Okay, constructive resting pose, spine in neutral, feet at the edges of the mat, let the knees knock in. Let your spine rest and relax. Soften, release, let go. Take a breath here. Okay, now from here, let your arms come out in opposite directions, with your palms facing up. And actually, if you have a blanket or a towel or a pillow, I like to place something under my head, especially after a back bending practice, but that is entirely up to you. Yes, this feels much better. Okay. So, arms out in opposite directions. Scoot your hips over to the right, 2 to 3 inches. Let your legs fall to the left. So if you have a different leg variation you'd like to take, cross the leg, lengthen the leg, whatever you want to do. Bring this leg back, this leg forward, whatever. I'm not picky about this. I can't tell what you're doing anyways. But I want you to take a twist. So we've been back bending, back bending, back bending. And now do something a little different. Again, not the exact opposite, but just something different. So a twist. So think about pointing your belly button over to the left. Keep your heart facing square to the ceiling, not towards the left side of the ceiling, right up overhead. Keep the right shoulder down, and if it's comfortable in your neck, turn to look over at your right shoulder. And we're going to take about 5 deep breaths here. And if your head is turned, slowly return to the center. Slowly return your legs back to the center, hips to the center. Take a deep breath. And then scoot your hips 2 to 3 inches to the left. Let your legs fall to the right. I would suggest coming close to the variation you took on the other side. If it doesn't look the exact same, that is okay. But take something very similar to what you took on the first side. Now, focus on twisting your spine. So your belly button points to the right. Your heart faces the ceiling. And again, not the ceiling on the right side of the room, the ceiling right up overhead. Drop your left shoulder. Maybe turn at your neck to look over your left shoulder. And relax. Now, back bending is beneficial because it opens the front of the body. It counters all of the sitting and slouching and hunching forward. But twisting is beneficial because it helps us massage the internal organs. It helps push digestion along. So you'll often hear teachers say that, and I've said this myself, twists are detoxifying. But just to clarify, it helps push things along. It's not, sometimes detoxifying is a little too vague. It's this term people throw out. It's like, I always think what we're doing now is sort of like squeezing a tube of toothpaste closer and closer out. That's what we're doing, which is good. So let it be comfortable. Let it do its job. You get to work. You get to rest as it does the work. 5 breaths here. One more breath here. And then if your head is turned, slowly return your head to the center. Slowly return your legs back to the center. Return the hips, everything to neutral. Come back to a symmetrical, comfortable, easy position. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, now hug your knees into your chest. Maybe you rock from side to side. Trace circles with your knees. Point and flex your feet. Do some ankle circles. Maybe take a happy baby. But be wherever you'd like to be. In a few moments, we're going to come into Shavasana. And then when you're ready, you can settle into Shavasana. So from right where you're at, you can just lengthen your legs, feet about hip distance, let the feet flop away. Arms about a foot away from the body, palms up. Now, if you feel like your lower back is a little agitated here, which it might happen after any practice or at the beginning of a practice, but it especially happens after a back bending practice. You've got a few options. Place something under the backs of your knees. So blocks, I think, are a little too odd of a shape for that. Pillows, blankets, towels, whatever. Or if you don't have those, or I'm sure you have a towel, but you don't feel like getting up to get it, come to constructive resting pose. Feet at the edges of the mat, hook the big toes in, inner knees in, and just rest here. So you find a comfortable position. I'm going to come to a seat, but you come to a comfortable position where you feel like your body can really rest. You're not working. You're not putting in any effort. You can soften. You can relax. You can let go. So throughout the practice, you had to work pretty hard. That's generally implied in a Vinyasa practice, that you are going to be working hard, putting forth some effort. And that is good. That has a time and a place. Again, all of these movements we did benefit your body in some way. They serve a purpose. But now we want to relax, and that serves a different purpose. I often hear students say that, especially when they're new to yoga, they leave during Shavasana. They don't like Shavasana, they leave. And I think I was that student when I began as well, so I get it. But it's said to be the most important part of the practice. This softening, this relaxing, this releasing. Your muscles, your body, your breath, your mind, all of it needs time to rest. We need the balance between the work and the movement and the softness and the stillness and the rest. And so allow everything to rest. Allow softness, relaxation, a releasing of all tension and stress to completely wash over you. Allow deep relaxation, intentional rest, deliberate stillness. deepen your breath. And imagine that these breaths fill your bones, allowing your bones to feel light, lifted, and so that it becomes effortless to move, to slowly rock your head from side to side, to run your thumbs over the rest of your fingers and wiggle your toes. Roll wrists and ankles, move arms and legs. You can reach your arms overhead, stretching as if you just woke up from a long nap, fingertips and toes in opposite directions. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, hug your knees into your chest and slowly roll over onto your side in a tucked fetal position, resting your ear on your arm to support your head and neck. Keeping your eyes closed and using the strength of both arms, push down into the ground and come up to a comfortable seat. And take a moment here to thank yourself for making it to your mat today, and maybe reflect on your intention. Loka samasta sukhi no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. And may the thoughts, words, and actions of my life contribute in some way to the happiness and freedom for all. And now slowly join your hands together again, one more time in front of your heart in Anjali Mudra. To seal our practice, we'll chant the sound of Om one time. You're welcome to just listen or join me, but we'll chant Om again one time. It is the oldest and most sacred mantra. Commonly it's spelled O-M, but more traditionally it's spelled A-U-M with 3 distinct sounds. So think about the Ah sound coming from deep in your belly, the U sound coming from your heart, and the M coming from the throat. Think about the sound of Om traveling up your spine, up your torso like a wave as it exits. Again, we'll chant the sound of Om just one time. Let's start with a deep and clearing breath. Inhale for Om. The light or the good in me acknowledges, respects, and bows to the light or the good in you. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. Again, my name is Lauren, and because we moved through such deep back bends, if at some point today or tomorrow your back is still feeling like, I don't know, it didn't really agree with the practice or anything, it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It's probably just your body is not used to what we did. We really live in such a forward bending world, constantly doing the opposite of a back bend. So doing a back bend sometimes, if you're not used to it, feels like a lot in the moment and then later. So I would recommend coming into constructive resting pose, knees bent, feet flat, feet wide, knees together, and or legs up the wall, which is exactly what it sounds like. Body, torso flat on the ground, legs up towards the ceiling, and you can do each of those for several minutes. Legs up the wall, you could do 5 to 10 minutes. So whatever feels best, just make sure that you're listening to your body. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.